How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Save Scummers, your weekly gaming conversation. My name is Benjamin Scott. Joining me, as always, is Evan Harrell.
What up?
Man, it's been a wild week for, like, you know how when you're looking forward to a game and, like, you kind of go, you know what, I'm going to wait for the reviews to come out and see what's going on with it. It's one of those days where I lose faith in that mentality, or it's one of those weeks where I lose faith in that mentality because... So I've been talking about how I've been wanting to play Alone in the Dark. Yeah. And I was hyped for it, kind of just of my own interest. And so maybe like 2 or 3 days out from the release, I went ahead and pre-ordered it because there was like a PlayStation Plus 10% off kind of deal if you did it. And I was like, yeah, I'll take the 10%. I know I'm going to buy it anyway. Yeah. And the reviews are coming out, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, I woke up, and when I first saw it, it was like 62 on OpenCritic.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, uh-oh.
I was like...
lukewarm.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on? And so I click into it, and I start reading it, and it's all a bunch of, like, you know, the game for a genre, or a franchise that, like, kickstarted a genre, and, like, set some trends within it, or, like, you know, blazed a trail for everything that came after it. Now it's like taking a lot from other games and then and not doing anything new, and then like a bunch of comparisons to like what like Capcom's doing with Resident Evil and all these things, and I started to get like really worried, except that like if you're going to compare it to other things, what do they say, like comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, like I'm going to try to ignore this and I'm going to check it out, and did. And while the combat is not good, and I'll save most of this for what we're playing later, but it is by no means a 6 or a 62 or 63 or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, man, I just feel bad that like there might be a bunch of people that were like kind of interested that saw those reviews and are now just staying away from it. And I'm like, yo, it is not that bad. Yeah.
And it sucks because we've talked about how like recently the quality of games has gone down, so people have been more and more hesitant to give up that money up front, and when they see something, they might not do the research. They might just look at the tagline like, you know, Alone in the Dark is lukewarm at best, and then they're like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, and totally.
That sucks for the studio.
Yeah. And granted, the combat is not good. It's like...
which is crazy. That trailer, the real trailer, looked pretty sick with the monsters and stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like maybe I need to go into the controller settings and like adjust my dead zones and stuff, so maybe it'll feel a little bit smoother. I don't know if that's like if the way that it's set up by default makes it feel clunky, but the trailer, you could tell the shots they picked were like moments where the reticle was already on the monster, so all they had to do was like walk forward or strafe and shoot. Yeah. And so it looked good, and which you can play the game that way, but if you're, you know, getting sweaty mode, like, or trying to do stuff with that kind of agility, yeah, it's not like mechanically that good.
Oh, so like kiting enemies and like juking and stuff, like with Evil Within. Or like Resident Evil, you can't like, you know, back up and really outmaneuver.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, but like almost with like a weird jank to it, like which I typically I call like a AA jank, especially for, and where I'm willing to forgive it is that it is everything else it's doing, it does so well, and the combat really is secondary. And so it's kind of like, okay, like if this isn't the game's strong suit, that's okay, or maybe I just need to get better at it or whatever. But I'm like 4 hours into it. But
how much was it, the game?
60, but I got 10% off of that, so what, like $52 or something.
Yeah, but it's weird when you think about like, you know, secondaries, when you think of a game like what it's known for. So it's okay, is it okay for it to like fail in some areas? I don't know. Yeah. You know, like it's not the best, but it's not the worst. Is that acceptable? I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, I think if you were looking at the game like you were about to get another like Resident Evil 2 3 or Resident Evil 4 level remake. In certain areas it feels that way, but then as soon as you start playing, like as soon as there's enemies present, it's very clear. Like this feels like, I'm trying to think of an analog. You know when you play like Dead by Daylight or something, and like I know that's not a game where I don't think you try to fight back, but like imagine what a game like that would feel like to fight back, like floaty and kind of just like cheap, and doesn't, it's like all of the polish that they put into the game went into every aspect other than the combat.
Yeah, because even as when you play as the killer, their melee is just a swipe on a like slight cooldown, and it is still kind of a little janky.
Yeah,
because there's the deception of, am I within range to hit the survivor? And then you think, and you're like, what the fuck? Or like the survivor did like a real big brain juke, and like 360 spun on you, and you're like, what the hell? I swear I should have hit him, but I don't know. And then maybe some latency or whatever, but I can see that. Yeah. Now here's what I'm curious: did this game come out before Resident Evil, like the first one? Because I've heard the reviews, as you mentioned, the reason why people are so disappointed is because it's genre defining, or it was like the gateway to this genre.
Yeah, and like to be honest, Alone in the Dark is a pretty strange blind spot for me. I remember the one that came out on 360, and I think that was even like a reboot at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like
the first
an Alone in the Dark came out in 1992.
Oh, maybe it is older than Resident Evil then.
And let's see, it was developed by Infogrames. I'm not sure. And took place in, it's kind of like a Lovecraftian Louisiana, like bayou inspired game. And so it's funny, the plot that I'm reading, in 1924, Jeremy Hartwood, a noted artist and owner of the Louisiana mansion Tercetto, has died by suicide. That is not how I understand the events of what's happening in the new one. So it's probably like a weird reboot where they're taking some liberties with the story.
Like Lords of the Fallen.
Yes, maybe.
The first one was so dog shit, they just made the second one and called it the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, let's forget about the first one we made.
Yeah. But
this was genre defining. This was like,
apparently.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to knock this game because it's almost, I'm trying to think of like another analog. It's like, it sucks when a game like Halo, when Halo Infinite comes out and it doesn't live up to the expectations you have because of the nostalgia and the memories and the quality of the games that came before it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if you were a kid and you played Halo Infinite, you might actually like love it. And I guess I kind of feel that way about this, where to me, this is my only Alone in the Dark.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad. It, and like, I guess I also go into it understanding that or at least have an idea of what maybe the scope that they were trying to go for. And also maybe, I forgive it a little because it seems like a game that was made on a low budget.
Yeah.
I mean, THQ Nordic being the publisher and the developer being Pieces Interactive, who I've never heard of.
Yeah.
I'm like, this could just be like a first outing. I don't know. I haven't researched it like that, but maybe it's the tone of the game that makes me forgive it a little bit, because it's like so right up my alley and like what I'm interested in, that maybe I'm being a little bit forgiving of it. But I've played worse. The Diofield Chronicle by Square Enix was worse than this. In my eyes, if I'm going to compare it to anything, which I would say like AA games in that space. The game's so polished. I made a video about it, but I called it AA&a-half, where there's certain aspects of it that are like really good.
Yeah. Like
all of the cutscenes are really well acted. The actual like not survival horror aspects of it, but like the adventure game of like you're in this house and you're finding clues and solving puzzles. All that stuff's really fun. And like, you ever play a game where you have to like go in the menus and look at the clues you found and review them and flip through pages and go, oh, there's a diagram of this thing, that's where I saw it from, and then go back and use it to like solve a puzzle?
Personally, no, but from the trailer, one of the trailers, it showed off a lot of the clues and solving, and I thought that variety was nice.
Yeah,
that was interesting. It didn't seem stale. It seems like every puzzle was genuinely thought out.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not that I haven't played games where stuff like this is in it. Like Alan Wake 2 had qualities of like puzzle solving. Like I remember one where like you had to enter a code, and the little note you find is like, if you forget the code, remember the special for the evening. And the special for the evening is on a board, and it's a drink, and the price is there. And you go enter the price into the padlock, and it opens.
That's pretty cool.
And so there's stuff like that throughout the game, and that you have to kind of solve things like that to progress, or to acquire items that you need to put into a puzzle so that you can solve it. And I think, I know that it's like that's a heavy trait that Resident Evil had in the earlier days, and maybe even now. I'm just not the biggest Resident Evil fan.
I really want to be.
I know.
That's a franchise I will play when I have free time and have gotten rid of. That's part of my backlog, is those games.
Yeah, I own like the PS4 version of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I own Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
I'd have to get 3. And the only one I have experience with is 4. I had it on GameCube.
Oh, nice.
But I never beat it. I was too scared.
I think I've been swooping them up when they've become free Game of the Months.
Oh, okay,
and
got you.
I think it was 5, which had co-op. You're in like Africa.
Yeah, 5
in the
I
beginning.
loved when
My dad and I like tried it, and in the beginning, and we like couldn't get past the very first scene, and we were like, yeah, this is a piece of shit.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what happened, but because we tried to buy games for co-op, and this one had it, and we were like, wow, zombies, cool. We've known the Resident Evil movies, even though they're totally like nowhere near the games, but yeah, we just couldn't fucking figure it out.
You ever play Army of Two?
Yes, we've played. Yeah,
fucking Army of Two kicked ass.
Yes, that was fun. I think there was one though that came out, and we haven't played that one.
Okay.
Which obviously, being in different states now, it's hard. But
yeah,
we played like the first 3, and I think there was like a 4th one that came out called something else, like Day of the Dead, maybe, or maybe that was the 3rd one.
Yeah,
but yeah. That was a very fun just shoot 'em up game.
That was a game so here on the Outer Banks, we didn't grow up with Blockbuster.
Oh.
We had Movie Gallery.
Okay.
And we would go, I've lived in places that had a Blockbuster, but when I moved here, and it was Movie Gallery. I picked that up one weekend and played through it, and like one of my other buddies had it, and so we were just like online playing co-op. And that's like, that game is like cemented in my brain as like just one of those really fun weekend games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it had really good gun customization.
Yeah.
And progression, like very rewarding, like customize your character, the guns, blinging out with gold, get the gold guns. And it was satisfying, and it didn't try to overstep. Like it did the whole Gears of War sliding into the cover, shooting over, like just as it copied it, it was perfectly fine,
Yes.
I always remember like putting the shields on my like LMGs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they're gold and you just dripped out and stuff. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And you just move around shooting people.
You know what's funny? Because I've been thinking about this lately. Is that era, in the 360 era, like I would say Army of Two was at that time considered a AAA game.
Oh yeah, I think yeah.
But nowadays, games like that would be labeled a AA game.
Yeah.
And I want more stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and that sucks too, because the only difference is the budget.
Yeah.
Is what's keeping it from being a AAA game, and then you have reviewers that don't acknowledge that.
Yeah.
They don't acknowledge the budget.
Yeah.
So, which sucks.
Which, it's like, if you rate games based on their budget, like because of what it can accomplish because of its budget, like maybe like in terms of scope or gameplay systems and the variety of gameplay systems within it. I think that makes sense. Like I understand that perspective, but personally, like I think a game that, depending on like when you sit down, a small studio made something. I think that changes. It's like that weird nuance of like, I understand that like a small team made this and it's so impressive that I like it.
Yeah.
And when just like a standard team makes a really standard game,
yeah,
I think that's fine. I guess maybe where reviewing has shifted is, for me, a average game was like a 7.
Yeah.
But if you really think about a 1 through 10 scale, an average game would be a 5.
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe reviewers are starting to look at things, because I remember sometimes reviewing games, and what I would do, because LogNet operated on a 10-point scale, but mentally I always look at a 5-point scale. I don't know if it's from watching fucking X-Play on G4 while I was growing up or whatever, but like a 3 is a middling game. Literally, it's like smack dab in the middle. And as long as you make a competent game that isn't like breaking or doing anything weird, I think at the bare minimum you get that.
Yeah.
And I guess what I used to do at LogNet is, if I gave something a 3, I would times it by 2 and it would give me a 6.
Yeah.
So I would rate kind of the components of a game, like its story, its gameplay, the audio and visuals, and maybe like performance. I mean, I'm not like frame peeping, like counting things and going back and reviewing it and like counting pixels to identify fidelity. I'm not doing all that, but like noting if like it was crashing or really framey or whatever, and kind of rating that in some way. And you just add all those up and divide by how many there are.
Yeah.
And there you have your score. But I would do that in terms of like 1 through 5 and then multiply by 2 to get whatever it would be. And giving something a 3 and realizing you're giving something a 6 feels harsh.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess...
Because as humans, it's funny. I don't know if you watch those videos where it's like, what would you rate me on a scale from 1 to... Most humans say 7 because they don't want to be mean, but they don't want to be too generous if like... it's weird psychology. Human beings just gravitate towards 7s.
Yes.
And I think there's also a running joke like with IGN too. They're like really guilty of just 7. They just throw them out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So like, the only thing that I will say is that when I'm doing an impressions or like I'm kind of grading a game as I go, I'll look at it very similarly, like where I'm at right now, how would I rate these things?
Yeah.
And when I did that math for Alone in the Dark, I got 3.5. Okay. So if I times that by 2, I'm going to get 7.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, no, that feels... Yeah. That a 7 feels appropriate to me. Like, it's a hard 7. But I'm just... It's funny because I left work Friday.
Yeah.
And I came home, I ate lunch, and then immediately made that video.
Nice, yeah.
And I just felt like after having played it and seeing how people were talking about it online, I was like, and I know I've seen a couple of other videos of people being like, it's really not that bad. And so I know I'm not alone, but like if you watch the trailers, go watch the launch trailer. If that looks good to you, buy the game.
And it looks interesting. And I will even say, as someone who doesn't play that genre a whole lot, the reveal trailer looked very enticing.
Yeah.
Like I said, as someone who's not into like the puzzle solving games, they showed off just a bunch of different stuff and cool mechanics, and I remember like seeing a globe and like the padlock and stuff like that, and then the combat looked kind of cool. The monsters looked interesting. It looked good.
Yeah.
So, and it sucks that, the studio shouldn't be faulted for a couple, just minor mishaps, or again being unfairly compared to AAA or just other stuff. But
yeah, it's funny you put it that way, because that really, when you think about the team that works on a Resident Evil 4 remake,
and
then I bet if you looked at the team that made Alone in the Dark, you'd be like, hell yeah, dude, right on. You made a really good game.
Exactly. Like they should be commended for that. You think of like the big ass studio that would be Capcom or whoever, and then you look at, I don't know, maybe like a team of 100. Yeah. You're telling me that like Resident Evil 7 and 8 and stuff like that, I'm willing to bet it was like over 200 people that probably worked on that.
Yeah. I'm Googling right now Alone in the Dark's budget, and I doubt anything is going to come up, but I'm also going to try to figure out how many people work at Pieces Interactive.
I'm also...
Damn.
And it's crazy that you say with AAA and AA games, because I almost want to say that like Demon Souls and Dark Souls at the time, just because to tie back in with the Army of Two, at that time it was considered a AAA game. Mm-hmm. Like you look at Dark Souls and you take away all the nostalgia and all the fanboys, it would be like shit on hardcore now. And I feel like 2007, 2008, when it came out, it was viewed as a AAA game.
Yeah.
And I just looked up, From Software only has 400 employees.
For real?
Yeah, that's crazy small. So I would almost argue that like fucking Elden Ring is a AA game because of the employee size. And maybe even the budget. Like you're saying, not all 400 of those employees are developers. Some of those are assistants and HR and, regular staff. That's crazy to think.
Yeah.
But they're an overly talented studio that like keeps all their people. So,
and that's key.
Yeah. But 400, that's crazy small to think of what Elden Ring was.
Yeah. It makes me wonder what... I didn't get an answer.
Okay.
Looking how many people work at Pieces Interactive. But I would bet a sizable amount of money that it's not a big team, or at least the budget was small. Mm. Particularly if it was developed in Europe somewhere, it's going to be cheaper. It's like Remedy makes what I consider very high quality AA games. Mm-hmm. That like they would be great AA.5 games.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is that things are cheaper to make in Europe in terms of, paying people. Yeah. And in terms like selling it for USD and getting that conversion back.
Yeah.
And
then it's funny to think that, like Ubisoft is the first company to throw around quadruple A with Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
So it's almost, I'm curious, I wonder how many like industry leaders have been like trying to like sitting at the precipice ready to throw that word out to justify their maybe shitty game or whatever. Like the only game I think that might be a quadruple A will be the next GTA.
Yeah. That's a game worthy of calling it. It's in a league of its own.
Because you could argue that GTA 5 might have been the first quadruple A.
Yeah.
Or definitely the front runner.
Yeah.
Because it will probably hold the title for most expensive game.
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah. And really, like, what does it come down to? Is calling something AAA or AA or single A, if you even call things that... Because what would that be, like an indie game? But then like Dave the Diver is called an indie game.
Yeah. It's a weird metric.
Technically, Alan Wake 2 and Control were developed by an independent studio.
Oh.
But it's like you wouldn't call that an indie game. An indie game is more like a styling thing now. But it makes me wonder, like, what could like a studio that we look at, like what could a Bungie do with the budget of a AA game? And is
Crash and Burn.
Yeah. Is AA or AAA a signal of the budget of the project or a signal of the quality of the result?
Yeah. And that's it's interesting you say that also, because with the word indie game, it instantaneously almost like disqualifies it from being a AA or a AAA game.
Yeah.
Which is weird though, because like if it hits all the marks and does everything really well, is that fair?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because like look at a studio like Obsidian.
Yeah.
The Outer Worlds.
Oh yeah.
Would you consider? Okay, this is a good question. Would you consider The Outer Worlds to be a AA game or a AAA game?
I haven't played it, so I feel like I almost can't. I apologize. Dang. I don't want to hit you with the I don't know. But I have some foresight, because obviously all the Fallout New Vegas fanboys, when they saw Obsidian, they were like, Fallout New Vegas 2?
Yeah.
So the developers flat out stated we can't do something on the scope that was Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
So I know that the Outer Worlds is smaller.
Yeah.
I know it is more compact, but I heard it was really good.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. It's weird. I almost, like, want to not be using the A system anymore. I almost want to go back to, like, numerical. It's big game industry, you know?
Yeah.
Conspiracy, but I'd say it's probably, I don't know. From not playing it, I don't want to, like, say what I think it might be. I feel like it might be AA, but I don't know, just because size.
I would think you're right.
Okay.
Like, looking back at my time with that, like, yeah, it's really high quality, but it feels quainter.
Yeah.
In, like, a weird way.
Yeah.
And, like, it's almost like I look at the games Double Fine makes, and I'm like, these are AA games. Like, they're not, it's not Halo 5, or, you know, it's not The Last of Us. Like, what they're doing is really cool, but then, like, okay, I would challenge myself and go, okay, well, then what is, like, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart?
Yeah, because I feel like every Ratchet and Clank game is classified as a AAA, right? Yeah,
I would think so, but depending on how,
it's so weird. It's almost like we should get rid of. I feel like I'm bringing the leg out, everybody. But I really do feel like the A system has been detrimental to games' health and their reviews. Yeah,
because if people go into it thinking it's going to be a AAA experience, it makes people separate themselves from, like, once you pick it up, how do you view it? Or, like, it's like, how do you view it as an individual?
And, like, what the hell is the, like, numerical score on every A? Yeah. Like, there's no single A game. Like, I don't think that exists. It's only ever double.
I would say that's for, like, the, like, really small indie space, like the Super Meat Boy,
or like Lethal Company. Like, that's what I mean. Like, you wouldn't call Lethal Company a AA game. It was made by one dude, and the dude's a millionaire multiple times over now because he's made just a good, fun game. Yeah,
and probably the next game he'll make might be double or triple.
Stardew Valley is one dude. Like, what do you view that? Like,
to me, that would be a single A. Okay, I think that's how I would qualify that. Like, anything that is, like, whatever you would consider to be, like, either one person working on it or just a really small studio that is really taking a risk. But then what I was going to say with Obsidian is, like, okay, so they made The Outer Worlds, which we would probably consider to be a AA experience, or that AA and a half kind of space. Yeah. But then they made Pentiment, which Pentiment feels single A to me. Like, it felt like a small side project that was a passion project for, like, a couple of people within the studio that made it and put it out. And, you know, I think Pentiment found an audience, but it is very, like, it has that feeling of, like, it's a smaller project. And when I see something like that happen, and I don't know if I'm wrong for doing this, but I feel like I grade it differently. It's like, if a band in your hometown, like, makes kick-ass music, it's like, dude, it's not fucking U2 or something. You know, it's not
Hailstorm.
Yeah, it's not Metallica, but it's like, wow, this is really cool. I fuck with what they're doing because it's happening. Like, they're working with what they have. Yeah, that's really fucking rad. And I grade that differently. I don't know if that's considered grading on a curve, but
hell yeah, that bell curve.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do, like, now that we're talking about it, I almost feel like psychologically when you see that A rating, you, like, instantaneously, like, just shift totally.
Yeah. And I don't know what you would replace it with other than
just a number,
or just, like, not throwing all type of expectation, or, like, where does this fall into this weird scale? You just almost completely get it out and judge each game.
And the reviews for Alone in the Dark were weird. Like, and I say they were weird because I took a peek at some of them, and I've gone through a fair amount of game reviews as well, and it's just weird how it's so strange how many reviewers compared it to other shit. I just feel like with other games, I just like haven't seen that level of comparison to other stuff.
You know what that makes me think?
Yeah.
That a lot of the people that reviewed the game didn't want to.
Oh.
Like there's other things that they wish they were playing right now, and they had to stop, and they were like, dude, I'm stopping to do this. It's not even like a Resident Evil.
See, that's not fair, though.
You
could argue that's misinformation. I mean, like, I didn't want to play Anthem.
Yeah.
I still played it, but thankfully my gut feeling was right. It was the dog shit.
Yeah,
a piece of shit. But like, that was a gruel of like a 24-hour campaign.
Damn, it was 24 hours?
24, 25. I hated every fucking minute of it. But I was like constantly hating on that fucking thing to begin with. But yeah, like, that's just not fair though I mean, you could argue it's not fair for passionate people, but I don't know. I mean, if you have the credibility to not have rose-tinted glasses 24/7, I feel like you'd want the people, because you want the review should be for the people that are thinking about it or already planning on getting it, and it's just that final nail.
Yeah.
To solidify it, and if you're hearing from another fan, I feel like fans can be honest with some things.
Yeah.
Maybe not with everything, but I don't know. But they definitely, if you weren't interested in the game before, you definitely shouldn't be reviewing the game.
Totally.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and the only experience I have in that space was very autonomous. There were like big titles that would get put on a list, and you'd have to sign up to review it. But as long you got first dibs on whatever, if you spoke up and were like, I'm doing this, nobody could be like, no, I'm doing that one.
Oh, okay.
Make you have to go do something else.
Yeah.
But LogNet was different because it's like an indie website.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as long as like if you knew God of War Ragnarok was coming, and you were like, I want to do that one, as long as no one else had claimed it, it was yours.
Okay.
But I don't know. You pulled up a story that I am now forgetting. I'm gonna pull it up on my end.
It was just interesting. I didn't realize how poor the state of Bungie was.
Yeah,
they're like literally on the cusp of make or break.
Yeah, apparently it's pretty bad.
This DLC, I didn't also realize. So, and this is the big thing, because I did want your opinion on it, because we've talked about Marathon.
Yeah.
So there was some words being thrown around where before it was going to be customization, like your person that you'd play as, total free customization. Now they're throwing around the words like hero. So you're going to be locked in to a person like Overwatch or Apex. Like, this is your default setting. Yeah. I wanted your opinion on that. That's what I thought was pretty big, because a lot of people, and I get it, I see two sides. It's easier for the studio to balance a locked loadout and preset abilities, but it's less fun for the player.
Yeah. Personally, I'm not a big fan of hero shooters. The only one I've ever played for any discernible amount of time was Team Fortress 2 when I got the orange box in high school. That was the only time that I played any kind of hero shooter outside of like trying with things. And yeah, no, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it's what made me not want to play Apex.
Yeah. And it's interesting because they just recently changed it to where there's like skills now.
Really?
You can mix and match, yeah.
Wow.
Which, okay. I mean, they're on their like 11th or something season, so it's time to,
Yeah, because I feel like once you do that, you can kind of go hands off a little bit.
Yeah, but Bungie missed their revenue mark by like 43%. That's massive.
Yeah.
For a game that is the de facto live service expert or like counsel to Sony.
Yeah.
That is insane. The fact that and just they've gone through Activision, had issues. They've gone through Sony now, and that Sony leadership has said, yeah, there's a lot of creative potential, but the executives are basically fucking worthless, and they don't take accountability.
Dang.
And they've even been guilty of accusing, the players. I know, like, they've been accused of funneling XP to make grinds longer because they just can't keep up with the content and time locking stuff. And
gotcha.
I don't know. It's just like, because right now, because if this DLC doesn't go well, Sony will most likely just acquire them and maybe turn them into a support studio.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as soon
depending on Marathon.
Yeah, really what it would come to is just taking over their board.
Yeah.
And if they don't like how they're operating, they have the power to do that.
And it's wild because they didn't they open a year or two ago another studio?
Oh, I don't know.
They have like 2 now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. And they also just experienced layoffs.
Yeah.
So now a lot of people are afraid. Apparently the morale, there was a big... It was weird, though, what I've been seeing. It was weird how much insight the leak person was. It was a little strange to have that level of insight and be a whistleblower. But apparently it is not good in the studio. People are fearful of getting laid off. Everyone's just upset and frustrated. The leadership is apparently just incompetent as all hell. And they're very afraid of Sony's hand.
Yeah.
Which they should be, but...
I was always... Or when I learned of the acquisition, and even though it was like pretty open, I was like, that makes sense for Bungie, but why Bungie would do this again is beyond me.
Yeah.
Like, when they got out of the thing with Microsoft and they like pumped out ODST, got out, and went on to, or was it Reach? I think Reach was the last one they had to work on. And so they might have gotten Reach out the door. And then, yeah, because the Halo 4 was 343.
Yeah.
So they got Reach out the door, and then they went indie. Mm-hmm. But they worked with Activision to publish.
And they gave them a fuck ton of money.
Destiny.
To make Destiny 2, yeah.
And
it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like $500 million or something.
And I thought what was working for them was kind of operating in that, like, almost how, like, Remedy seeks publishers to publish their games. Mm-hmm. Like, they'll go through, like, Epic, or who knows who they'll go through. I mean, they might just continue to go through Epic depending on how good of a relationship they establish with them. But, you know, for a while they were working with Microsoft. In like a, you know, when they made like Quantum Break, they were kind of working almost how like Insomniac would work with Sony.
Yeah.
And until they were acquired. I'm almost surprised, and you see Kojima doing the same thing, staying in independent studio, finding publishers like 505 Games or Sony, and working out those deals. And so when Bungie got acquired, I was really surprised that they did that, because they had kind of like a terrible story already. Yeah, and getting too involved with publishers to just kind of remain free agents seemed like was the smartest thing for them to do based on their mentality about the creative process. But maybe them getting acquired was the sign of like things were bad. Yeah. And instead of making it their problem, they basically made it Sony's.
Yeah, it just sucks because Marathon might be a totally different game than what we were led on, which is not too surprising. Games nowadays kind of do that, and they're still in the early changes, but they recently had a change with the director of Marathon. That's right. The game designer, and that's where those words were being thrown around, and everybody was like, whoa, hold up. This is not what we were told.
Yeah, because once crucial developers start leaving, it's like when a band loses its band members.
It's like with BioWare and Dragon Age.
Yeah, it's like they're not even them anymore. Yeah. It's just the name. Yep. So the cachet is lost. Yeah. You know, it's like if Neil Druckmann left Naughty Dog, somebody else would step up and fill that void. And there's, you know, and I know that it's not a one-man show over there, but it's like, here's a better example of like when you once, like if you're a BioShock fan, you're going where Ken Levine goes. Oh, yeah. Not where Irrational, or like you're not going to like games 2K publishes. Yeah. Yeah, you're going where Ken Levine goes.
Well, and that's why I went to play Callisto Protocol. Because one of the, I don't remember his name.
Glenn Schofield.
Yeah, one of the 2 OG founders of Visceral Games was doing a Dead Space-like game. Yeah. Obviously, I had instantaneously expectations like this is going to be badass. Yeah. So.
Yeah, such a letdown. I saw it on sale at Target for $20.
It's worth for $20. Yeah. It wasn't worth for $70 that I paid for, though.
Gotcha.
But it sucks with Bungie. I mean, Bungie, I've been very, very disappointed, and I get it. Like, who am I to say? You know, I'm not in that industry. Who am I to say? But as a consumer of someone who has loved the Halo universe and everything they've put out, I have been so let down with what Destiny 2 has become. Yeah. And it's just like, again, it's just, I don't know what, I'm sure there's so much stuff behind the scenes that I'm not aware of, but just why is it that you're taking one step forward, one step to the side, and then 2 steps back with every single thing you do? It is just so mind-boggling.
Yeah. Remember last week when I was telling you about my sister's boyfriend playing nothing but Destiny 2 for years and then playing Elden Ring and beating it and having a good time? I recently went to Wilmington to visit my sister and family, and it was last Saturday, and we went to the St. Patrick's Day parade, and he's like standing over the side smoking a cigarette, and he's like, you know, Destiny 2's coming back, right?
No, it's fucking not.
And I was like, what? I was like, for real? And he's like, yeah, man, they're working on it's pretty decent right now. We're building up to the final shape, so they're just like, they're pulling out all the stops.
No, they're fucking not. And see, and that's the drug. Yeah. That's what happens when you're in that ecosystem. You see a trailer and you're like, let me tie the band and just hit it. It is the worst thing on the planet, and I was guilty of it, and it happened. But I was just like, this is just a contact high. The actual content is terrible. I'm like, I am so hyped. The trailers are beautiful. They're so badass. You're like, yes, I want to be a badass space warrior fighting gods with guns and powers, and it's nothing. It's like, yep. And that doesn't surprise me that he says that. It's coming back. That's what they said with the last TLC, and it was... It put them in the place that they are now because it was dog shit. It was like 7 story missions.
Yeah, like $40 or whatever.
Yeah, and you got like a fucking lasso whip or something. And
it was like a grapple hook almost.
Yeah, and I heard the way they introduced that was terrible. The missions were fucking terrible. Half of it was just introducing you to the grapple hook.
Yeah.
And then they have this big climax with the fucking big enemy who's like the emissary of the darkness, and it's just them facing each other, and that's it.
Wow.
And I don't know whatever happened to the plot point at the end of one of the DLCs, like a mirror image of yourself comes out, and you like stare at each other, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, are you the evil version of me? And I hate that they do these little gotcha things, because in the final shape, they're bringing like Cade back. I just don't like it. Like, it's such a cheap thing to do, is like, we brought your favorite character back that we killed. You know, we had to kill him because we had to make something interesting, because we can't write anything decent, and now we brought him back because
we pulled him out of the vault too.
Yeah, like sunset his ass right back out. It's just like, oh my god. Yeah. I will always stand by it. I've never played a game that has taken away content from me.
Yeah, that's
such a sour point.
That's the biggest
sore point for me.
Thing for me with Destiny.
Yeah,
is not being able to boot up Destiny 2 and start with the Red War, and play all the way through everything in its entirety. It's like, if the game size is too big, I understand they want people to not only play Destiny. And if the game gets too big, there's not enough internal storage to hold everything, potentially. Like, if you get up to like 500 gigabytes to include everything, people aren't going to delete everything to do that. And so they're like, okay, we have to do something. But hear me out on this, because I'm not a network engineer or anything. I don't know if it's possible, but you're telling me we can't download levels from the cloud yet?
Yeah.
We can't cloud stream content?
Yeah.
Like, if we really wanted to play the Red War all over again, you're telling me I can't stream that?
And then,
what the fuck?
Yeah. And then you're going to say, and then when you do make content, you're going to, and I don't, when I say reuse assets, I don't mean like architecture and environment. I mean like enemies.
Gotcha.
So that the gameplay loop is the fucking same. That's where I have the biggest problem when assets are reused. Like, you're gonna say all this stuff like they claimed, oh, the game's too big, we gotta trim it down. But it's like, you're just trimming down 400 copies of the shit that you just duplicated, and you just put a new color on it. Like, I don't know, at its core. I know that's like kind of that's not all the things with all the missions and stuff like that, but it felt the same.
As a consumer, it feels that way. Yeah.
And it's like, well, no shit, the game's too big. You're just like bloating it. with meaningless stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad that I've managed to surrender caring about it for years now.
Same, yeah.
It's such a distant memory at this point. But I look back, I remember it fondly.
Yeah.
But the last time I tried to jump in was around Nightfall. I jumped in, I played like the first mission, and I was like, it actually felt cheaper.
Is that the one with the ice?
No, that's the one with like the lasso.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Thing. Like I remember getting that ability and doing that, but like the way the environment was set up and the way the enemies looked felt cheap.
The whole thing was cheap. It was across the board when that game came out. Everybody was like, "What the fuck is this?" Yeah. Like I heard the one before that, and I forget the one either after, because there was 4. There was like the ice one, where you get ice stasis powers. Then there's the one with one of the sisters of Savathun, maybe.
Yeah.
I forget if that was after or before the lasso.
Check this shit out.
I feel like it was before.
So, when I moved to Austin, my buddies hit me up, and this would have been like 2015, and I had been playing Destiny all on PlayStation by myself, but they were playing on Xbox, and they were like, "Dude, you should play Destiny with us." And so I went to GameStop and picked this up. It's like around the Taken King.
Yeah, comes with Taken King.
Does that take you back?
Yeah, because the Taken King was insane.
Yes.
That was a huge... Oh, yeah, the Dark Below, the House of Wolves. There was a funny glitch where instead of fighting Crota in the raids, the hosts would disconnect. They would pull their Ethernet cable, and Crota would just die.
Oh,
and you would complete the raid. Instead of having to fight the final boss, you would literally DC Crota, and then you pull it out and plug it back in, and the game would just fucking kill him.
Damn.
For a while. House of Wolves, that was with the arena, which was fun. Yes, it didn't have a raid, but that was still fun as fuck, and it was a challenge. And the Taken King was just, dude, I love Destiny. I hate Destiny 2.
Yeah.
I love Destiny.
Yeah. Yeah, this it's funny because I look back at it and be like, this is the heyday of Destiny for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was this era.
And they had such cool lore to read the Grimoire cards, to see... I am such a stickler for when you have multiple enemy factions and they have unique cultures and hierarchies.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the Fallen had like a tribal power, like almost like they were reminiscent of like medieval England, where you had a king and then you had a pope, and they were both of equal levels, but then they had their own like caste systems. Like that was so cool to me, and that they're like huffing ether to survive, and they're pirates, and the fucking hive is just like evil darkness spawn monsters, but they have their own hierarchy of power and authority, and I don't know, it's just so cool.
It was really cool. Fuck, dude, it's like almost like you want to download Destiny, but no, we're playing Borderlands, and we'll get to that later. Really,
sorry, I could rant about Destiny 2 so much.
No, you're okay. I think it's a good time for us to jump into the topic of the show.
Yes, absolutely.
This week, the topic is, what franchise would we revive? And I kind of wrote this little thing. With Square Enix remaking Final Fantasy VII, Capcom remaking Resident Evil, and EA remaking Dead Space, all at such high quality and with quality of life improvements and creative reimagining, it begs the question, what game franchise would we revitalize in this way? You're given a blank check by the publisher, the developer of your choice, and you're involved in the writing process. I thought that would be like a fun experiment for us to kind of explore. And I know I kind of went back and forth. I had 2 franchises that I would like to take a crack at in 2 different ways. But I ultimately settled on one when I looked at it from a certain perspective. Would you like me to go first?
Yes, I did find mine. This is the one I was thinking of, but I'll have 2. One I've kind of hinted at, but this one is the bigger one for me. Okay.
I'll tell you the one that I went with, and then I'll tell you my runner-up.
Okay.
And then you can feel free to take it away. So, the franchise that I would completely remake is the Resistance franchise.
Fair.
And given our conversation that we've been having, it's going to be funny that I say this, but I think when you hear me out on it, it'll make sense.
Okay.
The development studio is Bungie.
That made Resistance, really?
No, so the original is made by Insomniac.
Oh, okay.
They would work on that in between like Ratchet and Clank games and other projects that they were doing. But I would, because now we know Insomniac is caught up in like just making Marvel games.
Yeah.
And occasionally a Ratchet and Clank. I would want Bungie to finally make Resistance the Halo killer that every magazine tried to make it out to be. Because when I was growing up and Resistance came out, everybody was... Anytime a first-person shooter came out on PlayStation, it was like, is this the Halo killer?
Yeah.
Like, it happened with Haze, which we all fucking knew wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
They tried it with Killzone. People would talk about that like it was going to be the Halo killer, and they talked about Resistance that way. And I know I made a video I did like a whole Resistance retrospective, and there's always people leaving comments on it that are like, dude, it was never supposed to be the Halo killer. It's its own game. And I'm like, no. You must not have been there for that era. Everybody talked about it. I have copies of Electronic Gaming Monthly that are like, is Resistance the Halo killer?
That's
like,
cool.
Everybody was talking about that like that. So I think it would be who better to make the Halo killer out of Resistance than Bungie. And I would start with Fall of Man. I would basically just remake it and elevate everything about it, make the gunplay smoother, give it all that Bungie, just like really good snappy kind of gameplay. Take it off of like click to scope, like give it L triggers, like look down the sights, have them like take some of the weapons that kind of like the flamethrower and stuff and try to do something a little bit more creative with it, because that was one thing that Resistance did, like the bullseye. Every weapon has an alternate fire, and the bullseye's alternate fires was it would shoot a single shot, and if it hit an enemy, all shots after that for a period of time would home to that spot.
Oh, that's cool.
So you tag someone on the face and start you go around the corner and shoot. You watch all your bullets travel around the corner and just headshot the hell out of them.
That's sick.
And dude, like just take it, elevate it, and then also, just for me, really, I know that an arena shooter will not take off today.
Yeah.
But let them make Resistance PvP like an awesome arena shooter, because I remember playing Resistance Fall of Man and Resistance 2 like they were really competent arena shooters, but they weren't.
Yeah,
they were fun. I liked playing them, but I know that they weren't what they could be if a studio like Halo or the studio like Bungie took a crack at it. And I would love to just see that become something. But then the one thing I would really want to do that would kind of deviate from what the game does is sprinkle in a third-person co-op mode where it's not class-based, but maybe, I don't know. This is where, like, because Resistance 2 had a co-op mode that was class-based, and you kind of ran out on a series of missions that would kind of differ in certain ways depending on like what regions of the map you played on, and it was like kind of like a round robin of levels. Just randomly you'd get assigned to this mission on this level.
Yeah.
And I loved it, and I used to have like sleepovers at my buddy's house where I would play on my PS3, he would play on his, and his cousin would play split screen on his, and we would stay up till like 6 o'clock in the morning playing Resistance 2 co-op. And I would almost want them to just take something like that, put it into this one, but reimagine it in kind of almost like if they just had a bunch of strikes you could run. And like some kind of raid within it. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
But that I would, that's what I would do with a blank check. Because I would just think they would knock it out of the park. And because of how high quality it would be, but they could do it on a small budget. It could be something that gets Bungie out of the hole that it's in. Almost like make this small project, just remake it, inject some cool, maybe if the budget's getting too crazy, don't put the co-op mode in there, but just a story, a really good arena shooter, kind of bring them back to what they used to do, keep it small in scope, and just have them do that to just generate some revenue for the studio and for Sony, kind of smooth that relationship out a little bit.
Hell yeah.
And make the fans over the moon.
Yeah.
I know it would never happen, but I would do that. The other game that I would do, and this one might catch some ire, but I would completely reboot The Order 1886.
I think that's fair.
With, instead of it being Ready at Dawn, who used to make a bunch of PSP God of War games, have Sony Santa Monica actually do it. Like, to give them a break from God of War, and give them something really cool, a world to build out and do something really cool with.
Absolutely, yeah.
At a super high quality level.
Because that was one of the coolest things, was like the gameplay into a cutscene.
Yes.
And then out of it into gameplay. Was really sick, but it was just such a small, meh game.
Yes.
But beautiful.
Yeah.
Concept world, amazing. I want to see more of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do something very similar like God of War does. It might be a stupid thing to do, but if I have a blank check, let's go.
Yeah.
Is the single shot. Like if you fire up God of War 2018 and manage to play from it play it through in one sitting, there's no cuts. It's all one shot.
Oh, okay.
The only time you get a break from that is because you might turn the game off.
Yeah. Wait, really? There's no cutscenes? Is that what you mean?
There's no cuts. No, it cuts to... Yeah, I guess it doesn't like cut to a scene. The scene just... It goes from gameplay to transitions. But it never like... You know, they don't ever go to sleep. They don't...
Yeah.
There's no cut to something else.
Got it, yeah.
It is from the moment you start... It's every moment that happens to them through that time.
And that's what I thought was so crazy with The Order. Like, I remember, you know, you're, like, in a building and, like, there's a monster that's, like, comes through a fucking hallway and then it, like, it just goes to you or something to, like, shoot at them. Or I forget. I haven't played it in a hot minute, but it did it really well.
Yeah. Well, like, all of the werewolf sequences were kind of lackluster to me.
Yeah.
There's kind of that end scene where the building's on fire. That one I remember being kind of cool. But the last time I played it was like 2 years ago at this point.
There was one I feel like where it introduced you to like a combat zone with like regular people. And I feel like that, like the cutscene into the, oh shit, I'm fighting now was like really smooth.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was... Everything about the game was all cinematics.
Yeah.
They were like, let's make this really cinematic experience and left some of the other things to be desired. But at the same time, it was a really competent, like cover-based third-person shooter.
Yeah, it's a beautiful looking game.
It just wasn't long enough and didn't go where it could. Like, it didn't push the envelope far enough in terms of what it was setting up.
Yeah.
And you could tell, like, if it was a success, the sequel would have been kick-ass.
Oh, yeah.
But I would like to see what Sony Santa Monica could do with that franchise if given the opportunity. But ultimately, I was a little bit more juiced about the idea of, like, Resistance coming back and Bungie doing it with, like, all of this crazy polish and just, like, making a smaller game. Like, hey, just, like, remake this for us at your quality. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Have fun experimenting with weapons. Add some new weapons. Do what you want. Make the PvP awesome. Do some of the levels. Maybe make them better than they used to be. Because there were a lot of like fans in the ground that if you stepped over, it would just launch you up so you can get to higher things. Like I know Halo did that too with gravity lifts and stuff like that. But like maybe make that feel a little bit smoother. And just give it all of that, like, Bungie FPS love. Yeah. But, yeah, that's mine and my runner-up.
That's solid. I probably going to be less heavy on the studios. But I would... Well, for this one, I can name a studio, but it's going to be weird. Because, like, Blizzard is, like, their own studio / publisher, I feel like, at the same time. But Brink.
Okay,
Brink... I fucking adored Brink. I loved Brink. I think Brink is like one of the OG hero shooters like TFT.
Oh, okay.
I do fully believe that Overwatch looked at Brink and was like, we're going to copy everything and make it better. You had an okay story of the haves and the have-nots, which is fine. You know, you had people living on a trash heap and then people living in the tower. But you would fight as those two factions in this PvP style missions, and it would be like pushing the payload or defusing these bombs and stuff like that. And you had classes and you had guns, but it was just so unbelievably fucking fun, like throwing Molotovs, and if you killed somebody you could pick up their guns. So like, yes, you were locked into like that type of class, but the guns weren't.
Okay.
Which was nice. And you had like engineers and stuff like that, and it was just cool because not only was each mission set up with a main objective, but there would be side missions that if you as a team won, it would progress you and give you a reward.
Oh shit.
Like survival, like reality survival, like you get your totem, you're safe from, you know. Yeah, so like this is your main objective, but 5 minutes into the game, hey guys, we got to go seal these doors, and you know, cut off your opponent's spawn, and now they have to spawn further or something.
Oh.
Just like crazy cool little things like that. So it really felt like you were in the battlefield with a list of objectives, and if you managed to get it, this was your bonus. And it wasn't like dumb shit like you get damage bonus or you're unkillable. It was like the map bonuses where it would just make your life just a little bit easier to complete the main objective. To me, that was so cool of a concept.
Yeah, that is cool.
If I were to do, I would have it be completely the same like that, but I would have like the OG Jeff Kaplan, like Daddy Kaplan and his team that made Overwatch 1 without any of the BS from the leadership of Blizzard. I'd have them do Brink, because...
Who made the original?
Microsoft. Or Bethesda, actually.
Oh, shit. Okay.
But I mean, yeah, Bethesda made it. It was published by Microsoft.
Wow, okay.
But just from the experience of hero shooters, I think, and I've read lots of reports, especially because all the scandals and stuff like that, Jeff Kaplan like did his best to isolate his team and just have a good creative team and try to keep them away from the internal politics as best as possible. And to me, that's a good leader. He was the director for so many years. He's the meme king in Overwatch, but like, I think him and his OG team that made Overwatch, if they could do Brink, that would be beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. I don't even know. Like, I remember, I see the cover art there, and I'm like, okay, I remember that. Yeah. But I don't remember playing it. I don't remember what it looks like. Yeah, particularly with the Xbox 360 band for the cover art above it, that like awakes a memory for me.
It was just so, and the character design was just goofy but cool.
Oh yeah,
like that artistic style. And that you could customize your character, and like I said, you'd pick a class. I remember there's like an engineering, there were basic classes, but even then there was still some internal skills to that class. You played it, you unlocked new stuff. But then the guns, I think, you know, the fact that you could pick up anybody's gun was cool. And again, just, I'm not just pushing the payload and killing people. Like, maybe me and my buddy are going to go complete the side mission while the 4 other dudes push the payload. Okay. Like, that's just, to me, that's cool. It's like, hey, good job, guys. You helped us out. Like, it just seemed like such a cool concept.
Damn.
I would
love... Are the servers down?
Yeah, you can only play... I do have it on Steam. I play sometimes just by myself against bots.
Oh, okay,
I'm just like, dude, this is such a fucking cool game.
Yeah. That reminds me of... Did you ever play Shadowrun on 360?
No, but that's... I've heard of that. That's the, like, one with the samurai sword and the gun, right? Maybe I'm not thinking something totally different.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Depends on, like, what you mean about it, but I actually have a copy of it. Right here. Shadowrun is by Fossa Studio. I've got even got the
damn. Oh yeah, okay. There, not what I was thinking of, but yes.
But yeah, Shadowrun. It was multiplayer only. It had an awesome achievement in it, where it was basically like an achievement STD, where like somebody started the game and had it, and the only way that other players could get it was by teabagging that guy, or that guy teabagging them. Yeah. But then once you gave it to somebody else, or like once you got it, you could give it to other people, and so the achievement just spread. throughout the like the multiplayer base.
This is nostalgia, just having a little pamphlet that gave you a rundown of the game.
Oh, yes.
I'm looking at it, they show you the gun types and the abilities. I'm like, damn, that's an age gone by.
Yeah, all in color.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now you might get one, but it's going to be like black and white.
And it'll just be like, this is the map, this is the controller layout, have fun.
Yes, yeah. Plays with Windows Vista gamers. That's so funny. Yeah. But, sorry to interrupt, but what was your next one? Your runner-up?
It would be just bringing the band back together to make Dead Space. Like maybe a Dead Space 4 or continue that. Because I know the one dude went with Sledgehammer Games, I think, which is like a support studio for like Warzone. Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It's like Call of Duty. And then the other dude is whatever the company that owns PUBG and that whole universe.
Yeah.
So... But if you were to get those two creative heads together and their team,
yeah,
I like the whole like, yeah, we'll just get the band back together to do that. So unfortunately, I don't have like a developer I'd like to reimagine. But you know what though? I will say if we were to, maybe Red Barrel, who made Outlast, I think.
Okay.
Or it's something Barrel is the studio that made Outlast. Maybe get them have a crack at it. Because Outlast was pretty good.
Yeah, Outlast was creepy.
So maybe they could be the ones I would be okay with. Maybe still the two OG directors and then the team that made Outlast is what I would say. As would be my runner-up to do a new Dead Space.
Yeah.
But the reason why that's the runner-up and not the first one is because I think maybe they might remaster Dead Space 2 because of maybe the success with the first one with what EA did. So, which that will satisfy me and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But
God,
but Brink...
Dead Space is so good. You've played that one, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Dead Space Remake is so good.
Yeah, Brink, I was just... Yeah, it's so crazy, dude. Like, there's class-specific abilities, universal abilities. It was restrictive and it wasn't at the same time, which is so crazy to me. It was a hero shooter, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, you had lots of customization. And again, just the fact that, like... You're loading up with like 10 people or so. I forget how big the matches were. And here's a bunch of people pushing for the main objective, killing each other. And then, hey, we got orders. Go do this. And then you know, it's reminiscent of the tugging and pulling of like a battlefield match.
Yeah.
With like the A, B, C, D, E objectives. And then... Like, if you manage to... Or, like, some of their game modes, I know there was a DLC where you would have to hold these points for so long, and you actually push the enemy. I think it was on 4. It was, like, some Pacific, like, tropical island DLC. You could push them to their aircraft carrier.
Okay.
If you managed to keep getting ground, and the goal was to blow up the aircraft carrier and shit like that. And that's just, again, just the whole... That tug and pull action just makes it so much like less stale.
Yeah.
Then I'm just gonna defend a point for 2 minutes and fuck the enemy team. You know what I mean? Like, time to pick Bastion. Like, it's just That would be my two. Yeah,
I kind of miss that, like that era of multiplayer games.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. Hopefully people, I mean, people are probably doing stuff, but I think people that grew up that are nostalgic for that will eventually get greenlit to do a project, and they'll make something like that because they're nostalgic for it. It's almost like you have to wait for those kids to get old enough.
Yeah.
So there's hope. You know,
so I was kind of wrong in terms of the side objectives, but kind of right. So there's the general objectives, but depending on the class you played as, you had your own objectives in the mission.
Oh, that's cool.
But if you completed those, you would help your team in ultimately, and they weren't stuff where it wasn't done totally quickly. So you did have to dedicate some time to completing your specific class objectives.
Gotcha. It wasn't like going and just blowing up some bug nests.
Yeah, like here, soldier objective, destroy shortcut obstacle.
Okay.
And so obviously you could unlock a shortcut for your team or upgrade command post for your engineer.
Gotcha.
So that your team would have better. Like those would definitely, again, there's some like easy shit like disguise yourself. Okay. That's fine. But like hack an objective or firewall command posts, which would deny your opponent's team upgrades for a limited period of time. Like, that's cool.
That is cool.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not running around as Tracer with, like, you know, go fix these wires or something. I don't know. It's just like that added a level of depth to that game, which I thought was incredibly cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome.
So, and I think with the creative talent of the OG Overwatch team, I think they would do a good job. If they didn't have to deal with the shareholders and the leadership, and they were left to their own devices, I think that would be the talented team to do it, since they have so much experience.
Yeah, it'd be like, spend less money on this, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Go narrow and deep with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remake the maps. Because you said there was a single player or like a story mode?
Yeah, but the single player was basically you versus bots. But a little bit more narrative.
Okay. I would say scrap it then.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And just make it online. Would you think that would be the way to go?
Yeah, again, the story's nothing to be proud of. You're fighting. It was a mirror image of you as the enforcer and then you as the, like, rebel.
Okay.
And you would just do objectives, but again, you were basically fighting bots with just narrative lore put onto the missions.
Okay.
And the missions were basically the same you'd see in PvP.
Got you.
So.
All right.
But yeah, that's mine.
All right. Those are good picks.
Thank you.
Something I wouldn't have considered.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I scrapped that together, but I'm like fired up about it.
Yeah. But we can move on to what we've been playing.
Yes, I have a lot more to talk about with Steel Rising.
Okay. Lay it on me. What's going on in Steel Rising?
So, I have unlocked what I thought was the grappling hook to get to areas. I told you there was like these glints, and I was like, yep, I got that fucking grappling hook. I defeated the third boss, which I'm glad they're keeping in line with the chess piece names, because this one was the bishop.
Oh, cool.
Cool boss, kind of aggravating, but cool. I'll give them that. You couldn't attack its body. You had to jump or wait for it to like be tuckered out and like would fall over. But there are some moments where you're just running from the boss, waiting for it to be tired, and you're like, okay, can we get this going? Like, come on now. It's just chasing you around with fucking blades, and you're like, come on, fall asleep. Like, but I got that. So I think I'm at the point where I can backtrack, and that's cool and all. So it's not that terrible, and I'm finding a lot of shortcuts now. The thing that still is pissing me off is I am doing my due diligence in exploring, and I feel like I'm not being rewarded for it, because I'll come across a door and it says I need a key. And I'm just like, why? Like, it was already locked behind the ability to break the wall down, and now I'm going around and exploring, and you're still like story locking me. Like, don't make me be able to explore half the area if I'm only going to come back. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like stop you earlier.
Yeah, I feel like I should just be strictly playing. Like, why have side missions then?
Yeah,
I don't know. Just like guide me along then naturally as a more linear play style. But going back isn't as terrible as I thought it would be, but finding like instances like that, like there's chests that are locked I need a key for, and I'm just like, dude, like, why? I'm not going to remember the one room in the one area, and they all look the fucking same because it's the French Revolution times. Like, I'm not a French architect. I don't know, Sauve Pla, like Marquis. Like, I don't know the chateau from the,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm bad at that in games, like spatial awareness.
Yeah.
It's like I have to play a game like Grand Theft Auto to establish it. Like, oh, I know how to get there. Because like you play it so much, you start to understand the city.
Yeah.
And know the roads.
Yeah.
But like, single player one time run through game.
Yeah.
I don't acquire the navigational skills quick.
Yeah. This game's been just aggravating. It just looks the same. There's no distinction in areas, really. It's just all run down, and there's just different types of robots in there. It's almost kind of empty, the world. I mean, it's a cool world setting, but the levels do kind of feel a little empty. Also, not a huge fan that they like put these little mini bosses, and they are literally just carbon copies of enemies, just with a bigger health bar.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. It's just like, give them new moves at least. So that's a big complaint. I've got 2 other ones. I have, for whatever reason, been experiencing a hell of a lot of performance issues with that game. I don't know why. It will just lag, and just the frame rate will just plummet randomly in areas, and I do not know why. Wow. And I just don't feel like I should be experiencing frame rate drops.
You playing on a performance mode? Like a 60 FPS mode?
I think so. But still, it's a PS5.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It should be more than enough to handle a game that came out in 2022.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing is there's these little doilies around these people's windows that you can interact with.
Okay.
Oh my God. Every time I talk to them, instead of just hitting the button, holding triangle to talk, it will like, I'll go to talk to them, and it will black the screen and like change the camera angle, and they'll say a few things, and then it'll take me back into the real world. And I have to hit triangle again. And they'll say a couple more lines. And then I might reply. And then you have to hit triangle again. And it does this like constant like shift.
That's
and it's
annoying.
just like, why can't it be just... I'm hitting X, say a sentence, I hit X again, you say a sentence. And then if I walk away, it just resets.
Yeah.
Why is it not like that?
Yeah.
It's just it's just dumb. I just don't understand why it's not like taking me out of the world, but it kind of is. Like I said, the whole orbital camera becomes fixed, and I'm interacting with this person behind a door or a window, and then the minute they're done saying their 2 lines of dialogue, it throws me out, and then I have to hold triangle again, and I'm doing that 5 times.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm just like, bruh.
Yeah, I was going to say for a second, it kind of reminded me of in Alone in the Dark. I didn't realize that, like, there'll be these moments where after a cutscene, you'll be standing next to the character you were just talking to, and you can press X, and they'll, like, have an exchange.
Yeah.
And then when the exchange ends, the prompt to talk to them is still there. The first couple of people, I just walked away because I figured it was going to repeat itself.
Yeah.
But then, like, the third time it happened, I was like, let me just see. And it's whole other lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, fuck, I feel like I missed all of that.
Yeah. And
that's a little annoying.
And it's weird that they do it like that in the overworld, because when you're in areas where you're talking to important characters, it will lock you into the menu and show you like, okay, we'll talk about this, and then you'll exhaust your dialogue, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah.
Because it's not this every little line item I'm getting thrown in and out of this pseudo menu.
Yeah.
So.
And those I like.
Yeah.
Like in Horizon.
Yeah.
Doing the lines of dialogue, I'll sit there all day just listening to everything.
And exhaust them out, and then you're like, okay, I've done everything with this person, time to move on.
Yeah.
I will say... So yeah, that all those features have been kind of annoying. Again, unfortunately, I would never go back and play the game again. It's cool and all, but I don't know. I will give it props though. The weapon, the world is kind of cool. The enemy designs aesthetically are cool. Fighting them is boring as fuck. Okay. Because you just dodge around them, hit them in the back, wait till they do an AoE swing, you dodge backwards, and you go back in.
Got you.
Again, very limited, which I remember like the first time. I will have to show you the flowchart of like the Elden Ring boss movesets.
Oh, okay.
But
so wait, are you abandoning?
No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna finish it through.
Oh, okay.
I almost did though. Like I said, I got stuck in bushes. Which let me complain about that as well. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're
I'm
good.
gonna rant, people. Why in the fuck would you have hedges? You have hedges like this, okay, and then you have a perfectly fucking cut hedge that looks like a ramp. And you allow me to walk on the ledge and then walk in a little bit further, and there's an invisible wall. And then I slipped and fell into bushes and got stuck behind a tree.
And you couldn't get out of it?
Nope, I had to use a coin to reset to my like bonfire.
Oh my god.
But the way it was set up, I was like, well, fuck, that looks like a path.
Yeah.
And I do give them credit, because we've talked about this, how like Dying Light, they just, in some modern games, they just slather yellow paint because they think gamers are just dumb as shit and don't know where to climb.
Yeah.
It's a very minuscule glint, and you can tell if you have some awareness, you're like, okay, the balcony's damaged. There looks to be a little hook. It doesn't break the universe or the aesthetic of the game, which I do like. The weapon design, super cool and amazing. The weapons look so phenomenal. They have two ability, or they have like a special move. They look super sick. Like there's this hammer, and it's like special move is block, and you like push the bar that is the shaft of the hammer into it, and then you pull it apart as like a wall to block. Like that just is a cool design.
That is cool.
There's another one where there's like these gun batons, and the special move is you shoot bullets, and then for 40 seconds you do fire damage because you lit the barrels on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those are cool. There's like fans, like there's like these bladed fans, and you combine them together to be a blocking shield.
Dude.
Like that's cool. Weapons, 10 out of 10. Phenomenal design. There's like a mace I have with a bunch of barrels in it.
Okay.
You charge it up and you shoot it like a shotgun.
Damn.
But it's really awesome. Like I said, the weapons are beautiful.
All right.
The skill trees and like the modules and the customization of your character also really good. But some of those other things, I'm just like, this is pretty bad.
Yeah. Would you call it a AA game?
Yeah, I actually would.
Yeah.
I definitely would call it a AA game. It is a Souls-like clone, but I would definitely call it a AA game.
Okay.
I would say...
In the pantheon of Souls-likes, where does it stack? Like worse than Neo?
Yeah, definitely worse than Neo. Neo is like a beast of a Souls-like game, good in a good sense. It's a beast.
Better than Lords of the Fallen, not the Lords of the Fallen.
100%. I haven't played the new Lords of the Fallen, but I've heard that was also really good.
Did you play Lies of P?
Not yet. I do that. I will buy.
I've heard.
But if I buy it, then I ain't playing Horizon. So I need to wait.
Yeah, that's funny. So, but I mean, dude, if do what you're excited about.
Yeah. I love, and the universe is always what captures me with some of that stuff. Like, I think The Surge was more than good as a Souls-like game.
Got you. Okay.
Because it did some, and most Souls-like games, they have some really cool little features here. This one, like Neo has like the different weapon stances. And The Surge, you can target limbs. Okay. And if you do a harder way to kill a boss, you get a weapon, like a special version of the weapon, if you go out of your way to do like a harder way to kill it. Okay. This one doesn't have any cool little thing that makes it unique. That's the issue with this game, is it doesn't seem to have a cool, unique feature like other Souls. Like, it just has good animations and weapon designs, and the concepts are good, but it falls short in some of the other, like the world in the combat. Okay. So that's the biggest drawback, which for a Souls, like the combat being, let me hit you twice, dash away, wait for you to spin around, do the same thing. Like, come on. Yeah. So. Okay. That's my big rant. I've been playing.
Outside of Borderlands, that's it?
Yeah, right now I can't. I mean, I do some activities in 14, like we run maps, which are just these fun little things to get money. Okay. We've been playing Borderlands and Helldivers. Yeah. Which we can talk. I don't know if we'll talk too much about Helldivers. We can talk a little bit about Borderlands if you want, or if you want to say what you've been playing first. I don't know.
Yeah, so because I got excited to play Alone in the Dark, I did pause my playthrough of Darksiders.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I'll circle back to it once I finish Alone in the Dark, but I am going to play Alone in the Dark twice.
So let me ask you really quickly, you said like last time you only played like 30 minutes. Are you still at that point?
Yeah, okay. Or I think technically the PSN says I've played it for 58 minutes.
Okay, nice.
So but honestly, at this point, when I go back to Darksiders, I'm just going to start it over. Yeah. Because I'm only an hour into it, and I want to get a little bit more of that intro story. Sometimes I feel like if I start a game and play like the first hour, but then start it over, I enjoy it more.
That's fair.
Really weird thing that I've noticed, but sometimes that happens. Pausing Darksiders, but once kind of my cadence is going to be at the end of the month, I'll buy something new that like came out that month. Mm-hmm. And then once I beat that until the next thing comes out, I'm going to play a backlog game.
Okay.
And so I kind of listed out the new games that I bought each month this year.
Oh, nice.
Because at the end of the year, I'll have 12 games to kind of pick like a top 10 out of everything I played that was like new that year.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, and so in April, I'm going to get Stellar Blade, and in May, I'm going to play Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
Nice.
Remake on Switch. But yeah, so I'm going to play Alone in the Dark twice, and then I'll go back to Darksiders, and then by the time I'm done with that, Stellar Blade should be out. And outside of that, I've really just been playing Borderlands.
I've really, not to take over the conversation, but that has given me a good like idea. I definitely think I'm going to 100% play Horizon after this. Okay. Because I'm thinking June 21st is when Shadows of the Erdtree come out.
Oh, yeah.
And if I don't have... That leaves me like 2.5 months to play Horizon Forbidden West, which should be more than enough time.
Yeah.
But if I don't do it by then, I ain't gonna touch it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be Elden Ring disrupting Horizon Forbidden West again.
Again, yeah, and I don't want that to happen. So, yeah, especially because now Horizon Forbidden West is going to be longer because of the DLC.
Yeah, yeah, you've got
but 2.5 months should be more than enough.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like, between that and Borderlands, the nice thing will be once we finish playing through Borderlands, that will free up a whole other lane for you to explore things where, like...
Will it, though? Because Borderlands 2.
Oh, no, I mean, like, once we're done playing all of the Borderlands games.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, yeah. Because, speaking of which, we'll go ahead and do our Borderlands update for the week. Yeah. Where we just found out that we're on, like, mission 26.
28, yeah.
28. So, yeah, once we finish that level, we will be halfway through the game.
Yeah.
And we're making slow progress, but when we sit down to play, we'll play for, like, a good 2-3 hours.
That's what I mean. Like, we do 2 or 3 story missions, and then we do all the side missions of the area. So like we're doing decent swaths of the game. Yeah. And we're leaving no stone unturned. Yeah. Which is fun. Because we're like pretty well over the level requirement for most missions. Like we were like the hardest I think we ran was like a 23, but we were like 25s or 26s at the time. Yeah. So well, and we're going to be a little over leveled because we're doing all the side missions and because of your mod. Yeah. Yeah, I'm anything that'll give me extra experience. Yeah. I'm like it might not give me the short-term boost. Yeah. But it'll give me the long-term. Well, it's a pretty hefty amount. Like you're at like 20+% or something, right? Like 22 maybe? I don't know. Yeah, I think it's like 21. Yeah, like that's a really huge amount when you think about it. Yeah, and it's got like +2 grit and like a couple of other perks on it that like I'm kind of just waiting until I get another class mod that beats that and then I replace it. And it'll be nice because once you hit max level, then you can do the class mods that will help you. Like the assault rifle damage. Like imagine, especially with the one that we just found for the item of the day. Totally. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Then once we hit that level cap, then we'll really. Or there was one that we also saw today that was like 66% magazine size. Yeah. For that one that only has 6 shots or whatever. Yeah. Like, yeah. Yeah. That would be. Yeah. I forget what that's called. Because I saw one that gave me 70% critical sniper rifle damage. Oh shit. And I have an ability that allows me to ignore shields. That's cool. So, like, I'm just going to one-shot people, you know what I mean? Yeah. With a mod like that, that's going to be disgusting. Damn. Yeah. Dude, yeah. What I like about Borderlands is that we're always doing something different, but it gives me the feel of that we're, like, running strikes in Destiny. Yeah. But always kind of, I mean, I know that, like, some of the missions are, like, you know, find all the pieces for the submachine gun or whatever. There's one of those for, like, every area we go to, but I'm okay with that. Yeah. How are you enjoying the story so far? To be honest, I have no clue what's happening. Okay. Yeah, that's the only thing is like I'm enjoying the minute-to-minute gameplay, and I know this is what I think is going on. We're looking for the vault. Yeah. And we're picking up those diaries, and you can hear people that were like either like on the hunt for them
and we're helping out, I guess, people that are trying to find it.
Yeah.
So that we can also try to find it. But like, it's something where like, it's weird because we're playing it together and like we'll be having like a conversation, but like an audio log will start playing.
Yeah. And
I'm like trying to tune in, but also don't want to be rude. So it's like that weird balance where like I don't want to be like, hey, they're talking, you know. But I figured at the like if I was really confused, I could just go read like a synopsis.
Yeah.
Real quick.
And you basically have it. It's not like the craziest story.
Okay.
A lot of the. Well, I don't want to spoil it, so like I don't know. Borderlands 2 just does a better job.
Yeah.
Laying it all out there.
That's the impression I got from starting this one and then remembering what it was like playing Borderlands 2. I was like, what I thought, or what I remember is that Borderlands 2 seems like it makes an effort to really make sure that stuff is landing with you.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not spoilers, so you know that like a decent amount of the cast carries over.
Yes.
Okay, so then so it does a really good job at actually building them as characters.
Cool.
Other than just Roland saying it's Christmas or all the stuff. Or my character Mordecai going, I'm going to add you to my trophy rack, like just fucking one-liners.
Yes. Yeah. But and I remember like a lot more. Like while you're walking around, there's a lot being communicated through like characters coming over your comms, or whatever, or like the little like visual, like the realistic people kind of fading in. Like I remember there's like a siren, I guess, that talks to you a lot in Borderlands 2, and I think she's talked to us maybe like once or twice in Borderlands 1, in the very beginning.
Yep.
But so it's in there.
Okay, yeah. But again, it's not like I'm not trying to like grill you and be like, do you know every little detail? Because it doesn't need to be. The premise is everybody's here for this vault.
Yeah,
and they want the power or whatever the hell it's going to give them.
Yeah, they're not even really sure.
Yeah, nobody knows what it's going to do for them. They just know. Obviously, we're fighting a lot of bandit leaders.
Yeah,
bandit leaders are going to want more power.
Yeah.
Whatever that power is going to be, I want it.
Yeah, 100%.
But we're Vault Hunters, so we want it as well.
Especially in that like post-apocalyptic kind of
setting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, but yeah, like I am enjoying Borderlands. I'm looking forward. I'm like, there's part of me that's like because a recurring theme is us talking about trying to set time aside to play it, but like Monday night, put in like a good 2-3 hours. Tuesday night, if possible, put in like a good 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
The tough thing is trying to also find time to put Helldivers in there because we do like playing Helldivers.
Absolutely.
But it is like it feels like it's starting to slip in terms of the time we're giving it.
Yeah.
So,
dude, and it sucks because like I feel like I've been neglecting like Warhammer and that huge passion hobby that I have.
Yeah.
I like haven't painted in weeks.
Yeah. Well, don't let that stuff slip.
Yeah, but I enjoy playing the games.
Yeah.
But it just sucks if I'm going to play a game and I have an unpainted army.
You know what we could do?
It's my gray plastic.
We could maximize some time.
I could just quit my job.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could do that.
Hell of a maximizing.
We could become destitute, but we'd be playing a lot of Helldivers.
Support 2 people?
I don't think so. But like, cause like I wake up early and get like I don't have to be to work. I don't have to leave here until 8:15, which is a treat.
Oh yeah.
And I have to be there at 8:30, and that's just so I can get in, turn my computer on, and do what I've got to do. But I'll wake up at 5:30 just so I can get up, get the coffee going, take a shower, get out, pour a cup, sit down, and play games for like 2 hours. And that's where I make a lot of my progress.
Yeah.
I actually feel like I'm better at games in the morning.
Okay.
And I have more focus on them. It's really weird. Like when I get up in the morning, like it's almost like the rest of the world hasn't got to me yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not considering everything that's going on. I kind of just wake up and I can be like almost like hyper fixated on it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then go, oh man, I got to get dressed. And then just go do that. And then it's almost like it's out of my system for the day. But that's when I get a lot of my single player stuff in. But that also would be a good time to fit in some Helldivers.
Yeah. Yeah, I might need to revamp my like life schedule and see about, because I don't stay up ridiculously anyway. Like the latest I stay up is 10.
Yeah.
But if I make a more honest effort to be like asleep by 10 or whatever, then maybe we could do Helldivers then in the morning, or that way I don't have to, because I have like a couple obligations and stuff like that, but
yeah,
that should be doable.
Yeah, it's just finding a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear what you mean with Helldivers. It's I don't know, it's fun. It's just like right now all there really is to do is just farm medals.
Yeah.
So it almost seems like a little less enticing. But at the same time, like those medals give new armor sets and weapons, so it's like
yeah. I think all it will take for us is like one like tomorrow afternoon, we get on Helldivers and we play it for 3 hours straight, and we're like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
That's all it will take.
Oh, yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, and we're all back in. But yeah, I would like to get back to Helldivers. Do some fucking Helldiving.
We can definitely play tomorrow.
Bet.
So, yeah.
Hell yeah. Do you have anything else for what you've been playing?
No, that's everything. I was gonna say I feel bad. I don't know if you wanted to go further in with Alone in the Dark, or
oh no, I feel like I dude,
talked in the beginning, or I didn't.
Yeah, no, I talked enough about it at the beginning. There's really nothing left to say. And if you really want to know my deeper thoughts on it, I did upload a whole video. Go to Hitbox Detective on YouTube. Yeah, I'll if I remember, I'll link it down in the description below. But if you type in Hitbox Detective, you'll find my channel. And yeah, that's really where I've laid a lot out and kind of reiterated some of that here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's all I have for is just I don't want to forget about Helldivers because it is a fun game. We can easily do a good 3-hour session of it.
Mihoy Manoy.
Nice thing with tomorrow is I think tonight when I go home I'm gonna try to probably get through like my cleaning chores. So then tomorrow is just gonna do gym and haircut.
Okay.
And then if it's not raining, we'll do some painting and priming models, but that can be done after because we can only play games for so long until we need a break. So
yeah, totally. But we can move on to Say It With Your Chest. Because we are dropping the news segment. We were spending way too long. Most of the time spent on the show was talking about news that we were just kind of arbitrarily selecting.
And we will throw it in, like that Bungie article and stuff like that. We'll throw it in, and it's nice to trim it. You know, we don't need people. I don't know.
Totally.
Or I don't want to say like stop right there with we don't need people. We obviously need people, and you as the viewers, we appreciate you. But you guys don't need to be watching two people that aren't exactly like working as video game journalists 24/7 and
totally.
I don't know. You'll get the gist of our opinions.
Yeah, and ultimately, like if it's a weekly gaming conversation, what two friends are just like, did you see this article? Did you see this article? Like it kind of is the antithesis of the show. Yeah. Which is just sit down and talk about games once a week and say what you got to say about
instead
it.
of like reporting.
Yes.
It seemed like so.
Yeah.
We're still figuring stuff out.
Yeah. So we appreciate y'all being patient with us.
Yeah.
But for Say It With Your Chest this week.
Oh God, I'm going to have to think of something quickly.
Okay. Well, I'll say mine. My Say It With Your Chest this week is that I firmly believe that AA games can save developers that are spending too much on games and not getting enough back. Mm-hmm. All that the players have to do is support the games that come out and not shit all over them for not being fucking Capcom's Resident Evil 4 remake. Yeah. And understand that like there is a cool novelty to like I guess like a 6 or a 7. Yeah. If you're interested in the subject matter, there is some things can be forgiven. Not everything has to be God tier. I understand that, like, based on our last conversation last week about are there too many games, you might be very judicious about how you spend your time and everything. But I would gamble or I would bargain that there's a lot of people out there that play AAA experience, like AAA games, but end up not liking them. Mm-hmm. Like, I could see a lot of people buying Final Fantasy 16 because of how big and awesome it is, and then not liking it because of all the side content, feeling like it doesn't matter, and it just being way too long. And, even though it's a really awesome game and I really enjoy it, I think that developers making games that almost harken back to the 360 era or the PS3 era in terms of scope of the project and being creative with gameplay mechanics within these tighter, smaller experiences. And it's just when the studios do this, because I think if we read the tea leaves a little bit, a lot of studios are going to attempt to make smaller games. And I think what a lot of studios do to disguise the need to do that is they make live service games.
Yeah.
That kind of like, think about Helldivers. You're making a bunch of planets and enemies, but a lot of it's procedurally generated that just gets locked in. And the missions are kind of this revolving thing. When you think about it, it's kind of a small game in terms of its scope of what it's doing, but it's a huge success. And I think that games like that can save studios that are on the brink of failure or the brink of getting their board taken over by Sony or whatever, as long as they can get those projects greenlit by their publishers. The crazy thing about it, though, is that, like, if you look at what Xbox is doing, they seem to be greenlighting a lot more like AA projects, which is interesting. I hope that those games also come to PlayStation, not because of some fanboy shit, but just so that they find an audience with people that actually buy games and don't just play them on Game Pass. Because that's where they're going to make the money to stick around. And personally, I like those type of experiences, the AA game. So who knows? But we just got to show up for them when they come. Yeah.
That's good. That was a good take.
No, thanks.
I mean, I agree with it too. Yeah, it's definitely, it just sucks, when you're passionate, and it's like Alone in the Dark. I'm sure it's a good game. I mean, you've said I trust that, and it sucks to see if it might be hindered because of just initial reviews and people miscomparing it or wrongly comparing it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know Dragon's Dogma 2 just came out to like really shit reviews on PC.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because it's like not optimized or something. Oh, it's like, what is that gonna... Because we've seen games, like Star Wars Battlefront 2, the newer one.
Okay.
Like where they were forced to be a skeleton crew now.
Yeah.
Because of initial like shit reviews.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And it makes me... All of this makes me remember Immortals of Avium.
Oh, yeah.
They spent way too much on it. To me, this is like the canary in the coal mine. Is they spent way too much on it, and then it wasn't like it what's mind-boggling about it is that they spent so much money on it, but it feels like a AA experience. And so it's like, where'd all the money go? Is it for all these actors and all the motion capture time, like the years spent in development or whatever? But then it, when it flopped, it like, I played Immortals of Avium and it was fine.
Yeah. Like
a good 7, wasn't terrible, but I know Alone in the Dark is better than Immortals of Avium.
Yeah.
I know that in my soul.
Yeah.
'Cause it does so much on a higher level that feels more fun and more interesting, than just being a mid-tier magic shooter.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed. Don't get me wrong. I had a good time, but yeah. It's just Immortals of Avium. I felt like the critics were being harsh on that, and to me, it's even wilder to see the reviews for Alone in the Dark and being like, dude, no, like, come on, no, like, this is disingenuous.
Yeah. And it was crazy too, because it was like right before the game came out, and I was looking through that page you sent me. I was like, how the fuck are there this many reviews?
Yeah.
You're telling me you played the game? There was like not thousands, but there was a good couple dozens of 6s, and I'm just like, what?
There were 1.5 out of 5.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
It's like, there's no way on earth. So off base. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But I guess that's why we have a platform to try to sing its praises.
Yeah.
But what's your say with your
chest?
Just
thought of it. I'm doing these last minute takes.
Okay.
Like a boss. People need to start speaking with their wallet. I have seen the power of a game franchise that I very much enjoy. People speak with their wallet, and I think it applies to all games. It doesn't matter the scope or scale or any type of game too. So to give context, Total War Warhammer 3, they had a DLC, very bad, for $25. Bad PR. They put their foot in their mouth one too many times. It was boycotted. The whole player base didn't buy the game, basically. Only a handful of it did. Okay. They finally realized, because they were getting hurt, that they added a bunch of shit to the DLC for free. And they said, going forward, you're going to expect this level of content now. We understand. We hear you. We're not going to short you.
Yeah.
Which is good. That proves that speaking with your wallet does work. And I think that should be reciprocated in everything. I think it should be reciprocated in the AA games or the AAA games and stuff like that, not some of these more niche stuff. And I say that too just because recently Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, at Adepticon that happened last Thursday, they had their big reveal trailer for Age of Sigmar 4th edition. Okay. Because their big game systems are on a 3-year lifespan. That way they can maximize, their profits and not overlap with each other. And they mentioned that they're going to revamp the whole core rules. So the way it works, just to give you and the audience some context, is there's all these armies. Here's your army book. Your army book comes with a couple models, and then you'll get a bunch of, I'm going to call them detachments or sub-factions. So that way it gives you some more flavor.
Okay.
What I believe they're going to be doing is, because they announced that all the current books are not going to be viable in 4th edition. Obviously, that pisses off a lot of people when you're paying $60 for a book that has some rules, some lore, and data cards that might go out of print here with updates regularly. I get it, that sucks, but just don't buy into it then. I mean, Games Workshop sure is $1 million company, but if enough of you don't buy into it and stuff like that, then it'll hurt them and they might change. Yeah. So I don't know. It sucks. It feels bad. Personally, I'm okay with the change. What's going to happen essentially is when 4th edition comes out, they're going to give every army their own little, here's your rule, here's your army rule, have fun until your book comes out. Which, yes, that sucks if you're on the tail end of the 3 years, because you only get to play with your brand new shiny rules for 3 months. But it is what it is. Yeah. But again, I've been seeing a lot of people online bitch and complain about it, and again, just play an older edition. Or with a game like Warhammer, there's just so many more possibilities, and just go into that.
Yeah. What's really annoying about it, that sometimes it's what makes me feel like where the disconnect happens between the speak with your wallet in terms of not spending the money. Yeah. And then there's the people that I think look at speak with your wallet as, no, I bought the game, so if I have something to say about it, it needs to be heard.
And I also agree with that. I think, and that's where with the Total War game, that's where they got into hot water, is they actually had on a Steam forum a member of the staff say, just because you bought the game doesn't mean you're entitled. They actually said that, which everybody's like, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Yeah, but see, that's where what you're saying with speak with your wallet, that's the only way to get them to listen.
Exactly.
Is to withhold money.
Yeah.
You can't compulsively buy everything.
Exactly. And I think more people need to apply that to other games, like board games and bigger games. Yeah. Like Total War is a niche game. It has a good sizable following, probably a couple 100,000 players, which is solid. Yeah. But it's not going to be like Pal World. Yeah. Millions of players and stuff like that. It will never be like that, and that's fine. But I've seen firsthand more content becoming better. Don't know why there's a bunch of grown adults saying what they said about Well, it is what it is. That's not a good response to your consumer base.
Yeah.
And I've seen them do some pretty shitty things by like ending games earlier, like big hit games like Three Kingdoms. But witnessing it firsthand and seeing them fold and give people money back because they knew they couldn't meet the promises because they didn't meet their sales goal, I think that speaks a lot. And I mean, it's little changes like that for bigger companies.
Totally.
So that's my say it with your chest.
Okay. Damn, that was a good one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Because personally, I feel like
that's why they call me last minute Ev.
Yeah.
They don't, but yeah.
I feel like I've kind of done that this week with Alone in the Dark.
Yeah.
But like kind of like being like, I'm interested in this. I'm going to find out for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. Mm-hmm. Like if I had, it's funny because I basically put in the pre-order the day before the reviews went up. And then when the reviews came out, I was like, at first I was like, is me kind of critiquing the reviews of this my copium? Like me kind of being like, oh man, like I just spent the money. I want this game to be good. But I know that on a core level, I disagree with, especially after playing the game. I'm like, yeah, no, like these reviews are off base.
I think if you give any monetary amount to any game, you have the right to share your opinion. Okay. Now, granted, I think it should be just noted, like, not that there's a game that's $1, but like if you play a game for a minute and spend $1 on it, okay, maybe. I think it should be announced that like, hey, you really didn't get to the meats and potatoes of it, but you did give your money. You don't want to be burned. I think you have every right to, share that opinion.
Totally.
So,
yeah,
I don't view it as copium.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but or just me trying to like discredit those reviews was like my copium. But like now that I've played it, it's like, yeah, no, these are 100% off base, and I still stand by like it's so easy to compare games. It's I think what we end up doing when we don't know how to really articulate what we're trying to say. Mm-hmm. Like when you don't know how to describe what you don't like about the minute-to-minute combat of a game, when combat is happening, when like you can't articulate the jank that you're feeling or like how it just doesn't feel intuitive. The easiest way to convey that is like it's so bad. Like when you compare it to Resident Evil, it sucks. Yeah. It's like it's so easy to do that, but it's at the end of the day, it's not actually talking about what you're playing.
Exactly, yeah.
You're basically giving it up that you don't know how to explain what you're trying to say.
That's why when you mentioned that, and we were talking earlier in the week with Alone in the Dark, that's why I was trying my best with Steel Rising, because it's just like I can't compare it to other stuff. The only thing I can say is every Souls-like game has a unique quirk or feature, and this one doesn't.
Gotcha.
And I feel like that is what I can say. Like I can't compare it to the Surge or Neo, and any From Software game doesn't need to be compared because they are the reigning king of it. But like, Steel Rising just doesn't have that unique.
That's the tough thing with genres, is that there are things that define a genre.
Yeah.
Where that's where I think it breeds that comparison of like, when you're talking about a survival horror game, you look to other games in the genre. When you're talking about a Souls game, you look to other games in the genre of going like, okay, well, to be a Souls game, you have to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And if X, Y, and Z exist, and then you go, well, there's also like this fourth quality that alternates for Souls games. And you're like, Steel Rising does X, Y, and Z, but doesn't have that fourth thing that sets it apart. It's like, okay, yeah, technically it's still a Souls game, but if you're looking for that modifier, and it doesn't come, that might be disappointing.
And that's what it is that's the whole purpose of it being a Souls-like, is it's supposed to have, the stamina bar, the you die, you lose your shit, like, but then there's always that extra thing that the From Software OG game doesn't have.
Yeah.
So but and also to go back to your like not copium thing, we talked to like this in the beginning, is it's not really fair as a reviewer if you didn't want to review the game in the first place.
Yeah.
So like for more justification of you to share your opinion, like you actively wanted to play the game.
Yeah.
And you gave your money to the game. So like,
yeah,
I don't know, that voice should be heard more than someone who probably had their publisher buy them the game, or they got a free copy or some shit, and then they still didn't want to even play it.
Yeah. The only time I ever experienced, like, you could tell people didn't want to review what they were doing was at LogNet. They would, like, get codes for games. And there would be a thing of, like, hey, we've got codes for X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And there would be some games that would be cool that you'd want to jump all over. And then there'd be games that, like, nobody wants to play, but because the website wants to establish a relationship with publishers or developers to get codes to be able to do reviews. Yeah. You kind of go, okay, yeah, we'll find someone to review it. Yeah. And then you get this pressure because you don't, like, the whole thing with the opportunity that site gave you is that you kind of wanted to be a team player because you knew what it would mean for the site. Yeah, and then you get early access or insider. Yes, yeah. Or some weird parasocial type shit of just like you want to be viewed as being cool in the eyes of the people that you're working with. Yeah. And so you would say yes. I never did because like I was like, dude, I'd rather go play what I want to play and make a video about it. And make an article that is way more interesting to me than just do another review because they're kicking a code out there. But somebody would take it. And it's like, you know, that person didn't necessarily want to do that. The only time I did stuff that felt that way was I played and reviewed Scorn. I was interested in it. Okay. But didn't necessarily want to review it. Yeah. But because we kind of... LogNet had a lean to Xbox. And so anything that was coming out that was exclusive to the platform, there was this vibe, or at least if it was a timed exclusive, there was a vibe that like, we should probably do this. And I won't say any names, but there is somebody at the site that like, if you were going to critique anything that had to do with Xbox, he wanted to see it because I don't think he wanted his website to be shitting all over a developer that he had personal connections with the thing, which it's like when you know that it does suck. I remember being like, oh fuck, like this kind of sucks, because like if you were going to review like Halo Infinite or something, you'd have to, that would be vetted, and you couldn't be, if you were legitimately critiquing it, that's one thing, but if you were coming at it with like some fanboy shit, and they would want to, like, they took reviews very seriously. And I think it was like that they were reviewing just to make sure you weren't being insulting to somebody and that you were just critiquing the game. That's what I do like about the Steam reviews, because it tells you if the person got it for free or they refunded it and the hours. So then you can kind of see, okay, is this somebody who just bitched and moaned for an hour? Like, or is this somebody that didn't truly put in their money and they are actually disappointed? Yeah. But like, Steam's great. Yeah. Steam's so dope. Yeah. But that sucks that but and that's the biggest issue with reviewers is you don't want the rose-tinted fanboys to be shitting on stuff or hyping stuff up unfairly because they can't see. Yeah. Playing games they want to hate out of morbid curiosity. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, that's it for this episode of Save Scummers. Definitely like, subscribe, share with your friends. Leave a comment on a YouTube video. If you're on Spotify, you can write in the Q&A. If you want to write into the show formally, you can do so by emailing us at savescummerspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, head over to Hitbox Detective on YouTube. If you want to check out Evan's stuff... got the Twitch channel, Kermat17. Don't have a YouTube channel yet, but Instagram, just have a picture of my cats so far. They're pretty cute. And we're going to be posting some Warhammer stuff on there, Kermat17 as well. How do you spell it? Kirmat. Okay, cool. So for people to look, or just they can find my actual name, Evan Seven Harrell, 7 Evan, like the rhyme scheme. So yeah. Cool. Name might change here in another week because I can change it one more time, but so far we're sticking with that. Cool. So, yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in, folks.
Thank you, guys and girls.